Good morning. I'm Louise Emmons. I'm a research associate in the Division of Mammals, invertebrate zoology at this museum. I study tropical mammals, and today I'm going to talk about work that we've been doing in Bolivia. Our study site is in Noel Kempf National Park on the Brazilian border, and it also lies on the transition zone between tropical rainforest and dry habitats of the Cerrado. The specific site is a small savanna called Los Fieros. Our initial research questions were, what is the pattern in which mammal communities change over the abrupt transition between tropical rainforest and savannas? And can we, from this information, predict which species are likely to persist and which go extinct in the event that global warming starts to dry out the habitat? The first phase of the project was inventory, during which we discovered 3 new species of mammals for science. We also set up 2 permanent trapping plots, one in seasonally flooded savanna, here it is during the wet season, and the other plot was in permanently dry savanna woodland. We also started work with radiotelemetry on the most spectacular mammal of the Cerrado, the maned wolf. What is most important to note here that it has a diet which is half fruit and half of small mammals, particularly rodents. During the 15 years of our study on maned wolves, they gradually went to extinction in our savanna. They started at about 3 pairs and about 12 individuals, and this year they dropped to 0. So the question is, why did this happen? One of the first clues came from results of our rodent trapping plots. In both habitats, the biomass of rodents dropped 95 to 98% during the first 7 years of our study. This coincided with a drop in an exponential drop in dry season rainfall, which you can see is the red line on this graph, whereas there was no net change in the annual rainfall. We had stopped trapping for a couple of years and started again, and we saw a completely different pattern of wild swings in rodent populations. So what else was happening? Well, fires are a necessary and normal part of the climate in all tropical savannas. In fact, they would turn into forests without fires. But fires are also catastrophic, and they create a wasteland which is temporary. There were no large fires as big as the maned wolf territory for the first 8 years of our study. Recently, in the last 5 years, we've had 3 enormous fires in very rapid succession. After each of these fires, maned wolves disappeared or died from the population. If we analyze our rodent trapping data with relationship to the timing of fires, we discovered that rodents peaked 2 years after a large burn, and then they declined fairly rapidly after that. Likewise, the principal fruit in the diet of maned wolves on our savanna completely disappears. The plants are killed by fire, and it takes 2 years for the first fruiting to occur. So our hypothesis for why maned wolves disappeared were that their resources dropped below the carrying capacity of the savanna to support them. First, because of a rodent crash where one of the main rodent species eaten by maned wolves also went extinct. It has never reappeared. followed by fires that were in such close, so close in time that savanna was not able to recover resources quickly enough to support breeding pairs of maned wolves. I would like to thank all the many institutions and people who supported this project. There isn't any room for logos if I list them all, and I'd be glad to take any questions.
How do you know that climate change will dry out the area there?
We don't, but if it warms up, it's going to dry out. Well, it will, because if there's more heat, there's down in that part of the world, everything dries out. The leaves fall off the trees.
This is on the maned wolves study. So I'm curious to know if the fruiting trees that the maned wolves eat, are they being threatened at all by invasive species? And then if the big forest fires that are devastating the land, is it killing off invasive species or opening up the land for more invasive species? And then as a follow-up, if the fruiting trees are coming back after the fires, do you anticipate the maned wolves to come back to that habitat?
Yes. The fruit that maned wolves eat are growing on woody shrubs in the savanna. Most of them are burned to the ground by a fire. It takes 1 year. The first year after the fire, they grow back their woody vegetation, and they flower at the end of the first year, and they fruit at the end of the second year. They're not eating fruit of trees for the most part, but of woody shrubs. What we're hoping is that we can control some of the sizes of the fires in the savanna, and that maned wolves will repopulate from the surrounding population. But all of the adjacent areas to our savanna were burned this year by massive fires of thousands of kilometers squared. So I don't know if there's going to be anything to repopulate from anytime soon.
You mentioned, I think you had 3 new mammal species this time around. What's your rate now of discovery of new species of mammals?
Well, I had to make a choice whether to continue going to different places and inventorying them for 10 days each, or to do long-term studies to try to answer the questions we were trying to answer. And I discovered early on that there's more difference between years than between different places. And so we're not doing that much new inventory now. We're doing bat inventory, and we've added many species of bats to the fauna, but none of them are new species. There is a new marsupial that has yet to be described, but rates is hard to say.
Yeah. And what are permitting issues like for you?
The permitting issues, I work in collaboration with the Museum of Natural History in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and their administrators have managed to get us permits. I take students every year from that museum, and they managed to get us permits.
Great.
And permits are not so difficult in the park as or in the country.
Great, thanks.